All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to try something really interesting. We're diving into the explosive philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche, but we're going to look at him through a pretty unique lens, the eyes of Rudolf Steiner, who saw him not just as some philosopher in an ivory tower, but as a warrior doing battle with the ideas of his own time.
You know, when Steiner first picked up Nietzsche, it wasn't just an academic exercise. He felt this immediate, deep personal connection. He basically said, "This guy wrote this for me." And that powerful, kind of intimate perspective is the one we're going to use today to try and unpack one of philosophy's toughest nuts to crack.
Okay, so to really get Nietzsche, you first have to understand what he was up against. And we're not just talking about a few ideas he didn't like. No, it was the entire cultural air he was breathing.
So this wasn't some stuffy intellectual debate for him. It was like a gut reaction, a physical thing. Steiner had this amazing way of putting it. It was like looking at a color that literally causes you physical pain. That's how deep his revulsion went.
So look at these words: guilt, sin, pity. For Nietzsche, these weren't just bad ideas you could argue about. He saw them as symptoms of a culture that had gotten sick, tired, and was basically hostile to life itself. It's almost like a cultural autoimmune disease, where humanity's own values were turning around and attacking its own vitality. All right, so Nietzsche felt he diagnosed the sickness, but now he needed a tool to figure out where it came from. And to do that, he came up with this radical new way of looking at what drives, well, everything.
And it all started with this one deeply unsettling question. A question that honestly shakes the very foundations of Western thought. He asked, what if this whole noble quest for truth, with a capital T, what if it isn't so pure after all? What if it's just another power play?
And his answer was what he called the will to power. His big idea was that everything, and I mean everything, from a tiny amoeba trying to grow, to a philosopher writing a book, to a saint praying, it's all secretly driven by this one single instinct. It's not just about survival, it's about expanding, growing, overcoming. You can almost think of it like the universe's hidden operating system, just constantly running in the background of every single thing we do. And this quote from his book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, just nails it. He's telling the wisest ones, the philosophers, the truth seekers, that their whole will is just a will to power. They think they're humbly searching for truth, but what they're really doing is trying to make reality bend to their way of thinking, to stamp their truth onto the world.
So now he has his tool, right? The will to power. And with that hammer in hand, Nietzsche was ready to launch his most devastating attack on traditional morality itself.
Get this, because it's a bombshell. He argued that all these aesthetic ideals, morality that denies pleasure, denies instinct, they weren't divine truths sent down from heaven. Nope. He saw them as brilliant, cunning inventions. Inventions created by the weak to get power over the strong. So values like humility and pity, they didn't come from God. They came from a will to power that had turned against life. A way for the sick and suffering to gain a different kind of control over the healthy and powerful.
And I mean, just look at the difference here. The contrast couldn't be more stark. On one side, you've got this worldview that says our world is just an illusion, our bodies are prisons, and the real good stuff is somewhere else. And on the other side, you have Nietzsche, who says, no, this is it. This is the only reality we have. He says the body isn't a prison, it's great reason. We have to create our meaning right here, right now.
Okay, so he's torn down thousands of years of old values. What a mess. But what does he want to build in their place? This brings us to his most famous, and probably his most misunderstood idea of all, the Übermensch.
Okay, let's just get this out of the way right now. The Übermensch, or overman, has absolutely nothing to do with being a biological superman or dominating other people. It's a spiritual ideal. It's about the person who overcomes all that life-denying morality to become a creator of their own values. It's about having the courage to look at the wreckage of old morals and build your own meaning, a meaning that screams a profound yes to life, with all its joy and its pain.
Nietzsche describes this spiritual journey with this incredible metaphor, these three transformations. First, he says the spirit is a camel. It kneels down reverently to take on the heaviest burdens of tradition and duty. Its whole life is governed by thou shalt. But then, to grow, it has to become a lion. It roars into the lonely desert, destroying those old values, fighting for its freedom. Its motto becomes, I will. But even that's not the end. The final, hardest step is to become a child, innocent, creative, playful, a sacred yes to life, creating new values as a child builds a sandcastle.
And he contrasted this ideal with what he saw as the goal of modern society, which he called the herd. This future where everyone wants the same things, where the ultimate goal is just peace and comfort. As he put it, no shepherd and one herd. The overman is the complete opposite. It's the individual who dares to say, no, I'm going to create my own path. The person who chooses the glorious, difficult struggle of affirming life over the easy anesthetic of just being comfortable.
All right, so if the whole point is to become this creator of your own values, what does that mean for our relationship with Nietzsche himself? I mean, should we become Nietzscheans and follow him?
And this is the ultimate mind-bending paradox of his whole philosophy. After giving us all these incredible tools, this whole new way of looking at the world, he demands the absolute opposite of belief from anyone who truly wants to understand him.
So here it is, the final test. The ultimate way to prove you've understood Nietzsche is to walk away from him. He says, lose me and find yourselves. You have to reject him, deny him, and begin that terrifying but also exhilarating work of finding out who you are and what you believe. Only then, he says, will he return to you. And that's it. That's where he leaves us. Not with a neat little package of answers, but with a huge, life-altering question. A challenge that is now yours and mine to live. He's handed you the hammer. The real question is, what are you going to build?